The head of the records management department chatted as they walked. It has been a very long time since we last had an intern in the records management department. You have liked records since you were a child. Right. No wonder you have such good taste compared to the young people nowadays. Come to think of it, there is no better place than our department. Isn't that right? The intern smiled and replied, yes, I think so too. The head happily recalled, come to think of it, has it been 6 months since we last had an intern? No. Wait. It seems to have been a year. The intern adjusted his glasses with his middle index finger, his sharp eyes looking like a cutting knife at the head as he thought, nonsense. It has been exactly 407 days. A department head who does not even know when the last intern arrived. He still walked ahead thinking that anyway what does it matter? It was a long time ago. The man put his hands in his pockets, feeling more certain of his guess that the records management department had no reason to exist. Plurrywood is a peaceful, beautiful empire blessed by dragons and generally a wonderful place to live. Here, various departments exist for the prosperity and peace of the empire. Among them are finance, accounting, medical care, and education, whose workers perform public duties and are called civil servants. Among them, the Records Management Department is a special division belonging to both the Magic Tower and the Royal Knights Order, in charge of managing records. A record is a type of magical tool containing spells written on parchment. They are mainly used in daily life or as a combat aid, and because of their simple and convenient activation system, even people without magical skills can easily use them. However, that is only the story for commoners. Crown Prince Kyros, a member of the royal family who does not rely on magic, doubted whether it was truly necessary to maintain the records management department. So the Crown Prince devised a plan. The Crown Prince made a decision to send a supervisor to the records management department just to find a reason to show it is useless and eliminate it. And so, Nakabonaltus became an intern at the records management department. Resting his chin on his hand, he reminded himself that his role was to grasp the internal situation of the records management department and determine its continued existence. Looking around with a sharp gaze, Kyros thought to himself that fortunately, it was not too difficult because this place was a gathering of only people with the lowest scores on the civil service exam. A useless, unpopular department. Even so, really? Trembling hands stacked the records together. Ss1 cheerfully asked, how are my skills? The colleague opposite him clapped. Amazing. Captain Ss1. I really admire you. Kyros looked at this scene with some doubt. Playing Jenga with office supplies is a bit too much. It crosses the line. And he is even a captain. Tax money is being wasted like this. As he was observing them, a girl walked up. Have you finished your task yet? Kyros froze for a few seconds. Senior Namia. Namia walked over to ask. You had to wait. I was busy handling some procedures. How is the work I assigned to you? She looked at the stack of records and pouted. It is exactly the same as when I gave it to you. Kyros broke into a sweat and thought. That look is asking what have you been doing all this time? He said somewhat awkwardly. I could not open it because I do not have the authority to view the records yet. He thought with annoyance that they should have granted him authority as soon as he arrived as an intern. Namia replied with a bit of surprise. Yes. It seems it has not been processed yet. Kyros smiled and asked. Didn't the department head already grant authority? In his heart he wanted to see how she would handle this. Namia stammered slightly. Yes. Well, that can happen. Kyros was left speechless. How unprofessional. And why is she making that kind of face? Namia suggested. Then I will prepare it for you. But Kyros had already made a detailed assessment that a so-called senior assistant assigns work without even checking if I have authority. And above all, a low-ranking employee can arbitrarily grant authority that should come from the department head. Reason for existence. Minus 10 points. Her name was Namia. Namia was still fumbling around. Is there any spare parchment left? She had worked here for more than 3 years, but reportedly she was still the lowest-ranking member because no junior staff had joined after her. Kyros stood beside her and wondered. Namia. Is she the second daughter of Baron Lopi? I heard the eldest daughter is excellent. So the second daughter must be nothing special. Is she even spelling correctly? Kairos paused. When Namia finished writing the last stroke, the record in her hand floated up, surprising him. It had been processed. Namia informed Kairos. From now on, you can view them freely. He was still a bit skeptical. Is this really the right way to do it? It seems nothing has changed. Namia looked at him for a moment and suggested, if you do not believe me, just try viewing anything right now. You are very suspicious. Just like someone who just dug up hay. Kairos was startled by these words and could not calm down. This, he flusteredly argued. I have never seen magic up close like this before. Namia said nothing and glanced at him again. Kairos asked with increasing anxiety. Why are you looking at me like that? Namia conversely explained calmly. It is nothing. I just wonder how someone who has never seen magic could become a court official. Or is it through connections? From behind, Ss1 stepped up and called out. Senior, were you planning to bully the intern Namia Lopi? Captain Ss1 raised his eyebrows and added. Just because a handsome young man appears does not mean you are allowed to bully others. He finished speaking and teased again. Unless you two are dating or something. Kairos evaluated blankly. Wasn't he the one playing Jenga most loudly just now? Yet now he is making suggestive comments that sound like harassment. He glanced behind to observe Namia's expression and wondered. Does she not have any reaction? Her blank eyes make it impossible to know what she is thinking. She suddenly looked at Kairos, making him turn his face away unnaturally. Namia asked calmly. Anyway, do you need something? Ss1 became serious again and said. Right. I came here for a matter. How many records do we currently have in the storage room? She replied. We have a total of 6. He said happily. Great. Then just make the report. Namia asked with curiosity. Captain Ss1, may I ask what those records are used for? Ss1 was surprised. Haven't I told you yet? Tomorrow is the funeral of Countess Doris, and His Highness, the Crown Prince, will attend. Anyway, he is not an ordinary person. Ss1 let out a breath and instructed. His Highness is very strong, so nothing will happen. But we should still prepare just to be safe. If anything happens, perhaps our department. Namia considered and gave her opinion. That is still a bit risky. 6 records will not be enough to ensure his safety. Even for His Highness, we should still prepare more thoroughly. Ss1 changed his attitude. What is wrong with you today? Namia, he began to say bindingly with irritation. Listen. Both the director and I said it is fine. So that is why we told you to do it that way. Who are you to object? Ss1 emphasized with a displeased face. You are just a low-ranking employee. He pointed his finger to remind her. A low-ranking employee just needs to follow orders when superiors command. Your job is to say yes. Understood? Got it? Namia clenched her hands and replied. Yes, I understand. Sunset fell. The clock marked 5:45 p.m. Kairos looked around a bit and guessed. It seems everyone has gone home. He looked over at Namia, who was still working, and found it hard to understand. Is she not going home? She has been working like that for a while. Is it because she was scolded earlier? Kairos looked at her for a moment. Then he stood up and brushed away the thought. No. Do not bother thinking about that. It is a waste of time. Unexpectedly Namia called him back and asked. Kevin, can you bring 2 boxes of parchment and ink to make records? Kairos froze in surprise. She is giving me errands right before I leave. What is she thinking? He looked at Namia, who was still focused on writing notes, and felt a bit dissatisfied. She is not even looking at me. She showed no emotion as she urged. I do not have much time. So can you get them right now? They should be in the storage room. Kairos thought with annoyance. It is just a small errand. If it is urgent, she can just go get them herself. He did not follow the request and spoke up. Sorry, but my working hours are over. Kairos spoke and walked away immediately. I am not coming tomorrow either, he thought. Even if I just leave it like this and go, she will probably just say yes. Understood like before. with a blank face and a puzzled look. Unbelievably, Namia grabbed Kiero's sleeve. "Wait." She lowered her face and called, "Kievan." "Wait." Kieros was stunned and asked, "What is the matter?" Namia lowered her face for a moment then said, "Article 34 of the Royal Civil Servant Law. Civil servants must obey superiors' orders. Article 26. Interns also have the obligation to follow instructions if granted the corresponding authority." Kieros was surprised and just looked at her thinking. "What?" Namia continued. Article 4. Standard working hours are from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now it is 5:50 p.m. Kieros stood there like a log listening to her speak and noticed. She is not like earlier. Namia raised her face earnestly and said, "That means you are still within working hours. And you still have the obligation to help me." Kieros was stunned on the spot. Just a moment ago, she looked like she was about to cry. Panic appeared in his eyes. "And now?" Namia asked firmly. "Do you understand, Kievan?" And he was also wondering, who on earth is the woman standing in front of me right now? Night came at the palace. Kieros stood by the window looking outside. He involuntarily touched the back of his neck remembering her. Namia. Truly interesting. Kieros took off his glasses. His hair color also returned to yellow accordingly. He was a bit curious. I wonder what she plans to do with all those scrolls. Whether the existence of the Scroll Management Department can prove its usefulness. Tomorrow I will find out. Meanwhile, at the Records Management Department, Namia was still at this place working until her nose bled. A nosebleed. She wiped away the streak of nosebleed. Namia looked at the records that needed to be made and became more determined. "I cannot hesitate any longer, because I must finish all of them before tonight. The royal family of the Spolarwood Empire is very special, because they are Dragonians, people who carry dragon blood. Their physical abilities far exceed humans, and once they are 25 years old, they can even turn into dragons. Furthermore, it is said that they control special abilities. Among them, Kieros is known to possess the extraordinary strength of a Dragonian." Namia with a gloomy face thought further. "Their special abilities are kept secret from the public, so I do not know what they are. Anyway, the important thing is that even the great Crown Prince will be attacked during the procession tomorrow and die." She frowned, not wanting to think anymore. "This is all the information I read in books. Let the detailed explanation come later, because right now I am busy. Anyway, after that, the death of the Crown Prince will cause the Empire to be caught up in war for 30 years. And after the war, the entire Empire will be devastated, and countless people will die." Namia tied her hair up with a goal. "I must prevent that, because there is a person I desperately need to find. To do that, first I need to save the Crown Prince in the procession tomorrow." Her eyes shone with a flame as she worked frantically, using a method only she could. The sky gradually brightened. Namia alone pushed a large cart. As a person who stayed awake all night, her eyes were groggy as she thought, "I am completely exhausted. But fortunately, I managed to complete it just in time." The two people behind were curious and whispered, "What is that cart?" "That is just the Records Management Department. Leave them alone." While walking, Namia remembered Kieros and acknowledged, "I hate to admit this, but without Kievan, I would have been late." Even though he posed a bit strangely. In front, someone exclaimed in astonishment, "It is the Crown Prince. This is the first time I see him in real life. He looks handsome wearing dark clothes too. That person is Kieros Spolarwood." Kieros walked over and unexpectedly crossed paths with her. Both sides looked at each other for a long time. The person next to him stepped up and asked, "Is there something wrong, Your Highness?" Kieros stammered slightly. "No, it is nothing." He turned his head and smiled at Namia, saying, "I expect a lot from you." She looked at him in surprise. "Did he just look at me?" The black-haired man called out strictly, "Everyone gather. Knights, listen up. We are proud royal knights, the white-cloaked knights, who directly serve His Highness the Crown Prince. Therefore, we must protect His Highness the Crown Prince from all dangers. Do not forget that we must keep him safe." Among them a blonde guy raised his hand and said, "But Captain," he wondered, "His Highness can defeat 15 of us with just one hand. Will there ever be a situation where we actually need to protect him?" The blue-haired man agreed. "That is right. He can smash large rocks with just one blow of Qigong." The blonde man next announced, "Last time, he ran 100 laps around the training ground and still looked fresh, while we were exhausted after running only 10 laps. The black-haired man trembled just thinking about it. Then he wondered again. "Then are we useless?" The black-haired man cried and shouted, "Idiots! If you feel that way, imagine how I feel. I have to face the Crown Prince every time I warn him." His eyes look like they want to say, "All right. I suppose you guys are trying your best in your own way, though we really tried our best." The group of them gave up too, calling helplessly, "Captain." Namia stood on one side observing them and felt, it seems that side is equally difficult. Heroes on the carriage smiled softly and spoke, "I apologize if my existence bothers you, but I would appreciate it if you forgot that I am standing right behind you. That is enough. Shall we go?" The black-haired man was startled and quickly replied, "Yes, please forgive us, Your Highness." The parade began. The city here. Wherever the carriage of heroes went, everyone respectfully bowed. "Long live the Crown Prince. May the light of the Empire shine forever." Heroes also raised his hand to greet them back. After the whole session, it made him tired and out of breath. Heroes held his forehead with his hand and thought, "These past few days I have tried my best. I am starting to feel tired." He raised his face remembering Namia and could not understand. Anyway, what happened? The reason Namia Ropia said so. If that actually happened like that, wouldn't that alone be enough? 6 defensive scrolls also have their limits. There is no way a Dragonian would be in danger. After Kiros finished thinking, someone in the crowd drew a knife. The black-haired man saw it and realized immediately. He drew his sword and slashed across to stop that knife. "Your Highness, please duck down." Kiros was grave and astonished. "Impossible. I realized later than the night, Captain." The black-haired man shouted, "Ambush! It is an ambush! Protect His Highness! Get out of the carriage quickly!" "Your Highness." Kiros looked at his hand and became panicked. "What is happening? I cannot feel anything. Neither aura nor mana. I cannot feel anything at all. Could it be the dark period? That cannot be right. The dark period only happens once in a lifetime." Kiros recalled a piece of memory. "I experienced it once when I was 10 years old." 100 arrows flew towards Kiros at the same time. The black-haired man called out excitedly, "Crown Prince!" By the time he regained his senses, it was useless. Fortunately, on this side, Namia shouted out, "Activate!" Golden light appeared around Kiros. The defensive scrolls protected him from the arrows. "This is..." Namia at this time quickly approached. "I am glad it is still not too late." Kiros still had not regained his senses and asked, "Who are you?" Namia extended her hand and asked, "Your Highness is not hurt, right?" Kiros looked at her. Namiara, the black-haired man on this side after a moment saw the assassin. "The attacker over there." The blonde man quickly gave chase. "You two stay here. The rest follow me." The other knights replied in unison, "Yes, absolutely, do not let the leader escape." Kiros took Namia's hand and then slowly stood up. First of all, he looked at the emotions and expressions on her face again. It made Kiros even more unable to believe it. She must be the most confused person in this situation. But look at how calm she is. Is she really the person who just encountered danger a few minutes ago? A person truly worthy of the title the Son of the Empire. He spoke up and asked, "Was it you who activated all these records?" Namia vision blurred. "I did not. This is bad. Activating a scroll also requires a certain amount of mana, and activating 172 scrolls means my mana." Kiros placed his hand in front of his chest, expressing respect and saying, "That was an unnecessary action, but I express my respect for your noble heart in trying to save the royal family. If you want any reward, When Kairos opened his eyes, Namia had already collapsed forward from exhaustion. He caught her and called, "Namia Rofe." Kairos was slightly flustered. Did she faint? Kairos' face darkened, while Namia mumbled, "Nom nom. Meat. Eat. More." Kairos brought Namia back. She was given an intravenous drip. Her expression was blissful as she exclaimed, "Truly. This is heaven. Comfortable pillows. Soft blankets. The highest quality intravenous drip. Recovering." Namia comfortably felt, "I can feel the intravenous drip flowing through my veins. There is a saying that the intravenous drip of the royal palace can even revive the dead. That is not a joke." Suddenly a voice spoke up. "You look quite comfortable, don't you, Luca?" This person was a member of the medical department. "Luca?" he coldly asked. "Do you feel any better yet?" Luca sat down on the chair and said, "Having used so much mana, wouldn't it be better to sleep more? Adequate rest is the best way to recover from fatigue. I checked, and your nutritional status is also very bad. What on earth do you usually eat? Do you even eat anything? You need to fully replenish nutrients." Namia called out. "Luca," she uncomfortably said, "be quiet. Stop nagging. I am not a child." Luca got angry in thought. What? Nagging? A doctor diagnosis is nagging. He smiled, trying to suppress his anger. "Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. The opponent is a patient. The opponent is a patient." He added, "You are receiving an intravenous drip. That is why you have the strength to say that." Namia was silent for a while and then asked, "Is it from His Highness the Crown Prince?" Luca touched his forehead with a headache and replied, "That is also true. But it was me. I was the one who prescribed that intravenous drip." Namia indifferently replied with a simple sound, "Right," making Luca unable to endure any longer and go crazy. "Right. Is that all?" "Yet since that time until now you always act so high and mighty. I have considered you a rival since the academy days. But you..." Namia lowered her brows and asked, "What ancient history time are you talking about?" Although she asked that, she remembered very well. Luca and she were classmates throughout the academy years. In the final exam at the academy, she ranked first. Luca ranked second. And since then, he called her a rival and followed her everywhere, buzzing around her all day. "What score did you get on the math test this time? Just you wait. I will definitely surpass you. From now on, let us compete in the upcoming exam." Namia remembered very well. "Although the only day I ranked first was that day." Luca sat nearby for a while. Then he said a confusing sentence. "Your family is still the same." Namia did not understand. "What do you mean?" Luca asked further. "You only eat one meal a day, right?" He had long realized, no matter how low the records management department is, if you are a royal palace civil servant, your salary is not small at all. So being malnourished is ridiculous. Anyway, recently Baron Rofi borrowed money from many people and that person too. They said there is no need to worry about repayment because you have a salary. Clearly the old man started some meaningless business again. Namia heard that and was so agitated that she sat up abruptly. "Wait a minute. That old man is still doing that trick until now." Luca was startled and also shouted, "Please stop moving. Lie down properly." Namia held her head. "I am going crazy," she asked herself. "Because of whom am I suffering like this? No. Calm down. Must try to endure. Because there are things I need to get back from that person." Namia let out a chaotic breath. "What can I do? Everything has passed," she said. "Anyway, fortunately he did not touch the extra allowance." Luca heard that and his eyes widened. His mouth agape. "What? So you live on part-time money? Surprisingly able to survive." He touched his forehead and said with difficulty, "Anyway, I know I do not know all your circumstances and should not speak carelessly. But..." Luca looked at Namia and asked, "Why don't you cut ties with Baron Rofi right now?" He added, "And also with your incompetent brother Juan Tocco. It is best not to associate with such people. You also need to live your own life," Namia said in a low voice. "Luca." She looked at Luca with suspicious eyes and asked, Could it be that you like me? He heard that and was even more shocked. What? Luca perked up his ears and asked again. What did you just say? Namia calmly replied. Are you trying your best to pretend you did not hear? Just kidding. There are things you can say and things you cannot. Namia apologized once again, making him go crazy and pour out a torrent of words. I just hate the way you are bound by such a family and cannot compete fairly with me. She raised her hand and said. I already apologized. The translation is done. Luca heard that and true to his duty called out. Give it here. Everyone knows Baron Rofi has twin siblings. But, actually, I am not the biological child of Baron Rofi. Namia smiled and felt lucky instead. If we were blood relatives, he would shamelessly demand all my salary, and make me clean up after his gambling, and then force me to help my brother too. However, the reason I endured this terrible family is because there is important information that I absolutely must extract from Baron Rofi. By that way, I can prevent the war and save a lot of money, and I will definitely find my father. Reaching for the water glass on the table, she stated clearly. Anyway, it is still not the time. Until I achieve my goal, I must live quietly and indulge the whims of Baron Rofi. Luca hesitated again. You will manage on your own. But, living quietly, isn't that impossible now? Namia questioned with curiosity. Why? Luca accounted. There have been rumors that you were the one who saved the Crown Prince. Surely you will be greatly rewarded. Furthermore, the Crown Prince himself carried you. How could that not become a hot topic? Luca thought with a heavy heart. Anyway, if the rumor spreads, won't it be very troublesome? When looking back, Namia was still drinking water without the slightest worry. Why are you so calm? She took a sip and reminded. Luca, you have overlooked one point. Luca looked blank and asked. What? Namia put the glass down and then said. The records management department is more important than you think. She placed her hand on her chest and emphasized. Completely incompetent. On Kiero's side, he put the record down on the table. In his heart, he could not help but ponder deeply. The attacker committed suicide as soon as he was captured by the Royal Guard. Clearly they had planned it in advance. But they still could not find out anything. Moreover, the timing of the attack was very alarming. Too perfect to be just a coincidence. Could it be that they knew the second dark period was about to come to me? But the second dark period is a symptom that only occurred when the first emperor appeared in Plantinus history. There is no way they could know something that I did not even anticipate. Kieros asked himself. Am I worrying too much? It is as if they knew the future in advance or something. At this moment there was a call. Your Highness. Chase entered. Bowden said. Sorry to disturb you when you are busy. The decision regarding the treatment for young Lady Namia Rofi has been made. Kieros heard that and suddenly remembered. Right. Namia Rofi. He thought. Since she saved the Crown Prince, she should be properly rewarded. Chase added. The ministers have decided to issue a disciplinary action against young Lady Namia Rofi. Kieros asked in surprise. What? He thought. Issuing a disciplinary action. Discipline? For what? Chase replied. For arbitrarily increasing the number of defensive records beyond the reported amount. Kieros heard that. His murderous intent taking shape as he asked. Now, is that number more important than my life? Chase laughed and said. Keep that posture. How could anyone dare to have such a foolish thought? It seems due to the nature of civil servants. They prioritize form over results. Kieros heard that and doubted. Is that really true? He recalled what Ss1 once said. No. The director and I both think so. So we told her to do that. Who do you think you are to speak up? He uncomfortably reminded. You are just a low-ranking employee. Kieros thought for a while and realized. It seems that is not the only reason. Chase said. Our royal family believes it is best to reward according to precedent. And we will look closer into the disciplinary action against young Lady Namia. Kieros adjusted his emotions and replied to him. Yes. I have taken separate measures regarding the reward. I already sent a letter to the Tower Master about this matter. So we will know better when we receive a reply. Chase heard that and held his head in astonishment. The Tower Master. He won't care about royal matters. The Magic Tower. That place is an organization that manages everything related to magic. People with excellent magic abilities will enter there and devote themselves to research. That is true. But they completely do not care about royal matters. Especially the current Tower Master, who absolutely does not involve himself in any national or royal affairs. The reason for turning to the Magic Tower is still because most of the public service departments in Platwood belong to the royal family. The Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Health and Welfare, the Ministry of Education. The Records Management Department is under both the Magic Tower and the royal family. The Records Management Department. Heroes increasingly understood. That is why this department is the only place where royal access is restricted. The reason I even blended in as Keybone to get permission was all because of that. There is also the aspect of gratitude too. Even that cannot be used anymore. Everything is becoming more and more of a headache. An hour ago, Heroes used his power again to turn his blonde hair into black. Since there is still some time, I should read some documents from the Records Management Department. Shouldn't I? Suddenly a screen appeared in front of him. What? Warning. You are not permitted to view the records and documents of the Records Management Department. Access right revoked due to Keybone Altus resigning on October 28. Processor. Namia Loaf. Processor. Namia. Heroes said in surprise. Impossible. It seems I just heard something. Heroes recalled saying that day. And I will not come from tomorrow. He went from one surprise to another as he pressed on the screen. She already processed the resignation letter. What kind of woman is she? Heroes leaned back in his chair with mixed emotions. I thought she would stall for time and it would take at least a week for the resignation letter to be processed. Yet she did all that stack of records overnight and even finished processing the resignation letter. Since there is an employee working properly in the Records Management Department, that place is not completely useless. Chase raised his hand and called. Please excuse me, Your Highness, he suggested. If you want to reward Namia, isn't it still possible to do so without the Tower Master opinion? Working amidst this winter, Heroes looked and already had a headache. I understand nothing about records, so I will listen to the Tower Master opinion. If I want to reward Namia properly, that is the only way. Heroes smiled and said, I hope we will receive a helpful response from the Tower Master. Chase suddenly smiled very slyly. Heroes asked in confusion, why do you have that kind of face? He waved his hand, smiled brightly and replied, ah, it is nothing. Having said that, Chase was already thinking far ahead. For His Highness, who has never shown interest in anyone, to flash such a smile. You are the first person who tried to save me. Oh, His Highness the Crown Prince. His eyes welled up with touched tears. That is definitely an omen of love. That is a typical romantic scene. Heroes vaguely guessed something and spoke first. Chase, I think you are misunderstanding something. It is not like that at all. Chase still maintained that attitude and replied to him. Of course, I understand everything, Your Highness. He gave a thumb up with a reliable expression and thought. So you want to keep this relationship a secret? I will pretend not to know. Looking at that face, Heroes understood. You do not understand anything at all. He crossed his arms and considered. She works very well, but sometimes she is too foolish. Outside someone knocked on the door. He invited them to enter. A person came in to report. Your Highness, His Highness the Crown Prince, I came to report to you that young Lady Namia has awakened. Young Lady Namia woke up not long ago. Heroes heard that and immediately stood up. Really? Then I will go to the medical room right now. The reporter stammered a bit. Your Highness. About that, Miss Namia, as soon as she woke up, went straight to the office to report. Heroes and Chase heard this and were dumbfounded. Huh. Is that woman a dragon? What kind of saint is she? On the side of the Records Management Department, people began to gossip endlessly. Did you hear anything? She seems to have made 672 defensive records. What? Why did she make so many? I heard she was beside His Highness the Crown Prince. What a meaningless thing to do. Namia closed her eyes halfway and understood. Just as I predicted. It really drained my energy. Yes. Probably everyone does not want to work. In her head, an angel and a devil began to argue. See. What did I tell you? I told you to take a day off. But if you do not use your leave days, you will be paid at the end of the year. Namia thought over and over and felt she should be more determined. That is right. I cannot waste my precious leave days. Wait for me. Leave days. She worked while smiling as if about to go crazy. Everyone saw she was not okay. I heard she was injured but already went to work. Did she skip breakfast again today? How terrible. Namia worked while constantly thinking of ways. Anyway, how should I become closer to the Crown Prince? Considering future events, I need to approach Crown Prince Kiros. The reason I am immersed in these thoughts is because I know about the future. Then suddenly one day, like any other day, a headache struck, and I remembered everything. This world is a story in a book. That is how I knew about the assassination of the Crown Prince, the event that will trigger the war. But I was not confused or desperate at all. I am still myself, and my daily life remains unchanged. Naturally, this is only the case if the war does not happen. Namia became more and more determined. Now that I know about the assassination of the Crown Prince, I need to find the person behind it and help Kiros so that the war does not happen. But currently I am just a low-ranking civil servant. I have no power to help the Crown Prince. By the way, since I changed the future, the details in the book have probably also changed a bit. Those targeting the Crown Prince are probably not that easy to deal with either. Surely they will continue to target the royal family and the Crown Prince. Oson on this side looked over at her and gnashed his teeth. He walked quickly over. Meanwhile Namia was still thinking. If it is the Crown Prince, he would not call me so casually. Then I can step a little closer. Oson slammed the table hard and called. Hey, Namia, let us talk for a moment. Lower-ranking employee mode turned on. Namia grimaced and decided. I need to finish this job perfectly in this situation. Working is the only thing I need to do. After calculating, she pretended to be innocent and asked, Is there something wrong? Do you need my help? Oson seemed about to go crazy and shouted. What on earth are you saying? Do you know what a huge splash our records management department has made? He pointed his finger at Namia and questioned. The number of records written in the report is different from the actual number. How did this happen? I clearly said 6 scrolls were enough. How dare you use so many records without permission? The Crown Prince did not use any records. Namia heard that and her face darkened in surprise. No. He would have died. 100% survival rate. I tried my best. Death was unavoidable. Oson almost screamed. If you want to blame someone, then blame the bastard who ordered us to destroy the magic tower. Why did you come to the records management department? He smirked with contempt and said, No. The magic tower will not accept a dropout like you. Your scores at the academy were also very terrible. With those scores, our department is not the only place you could enter. The other girls heard this and turned pale. Is that an acknowledgement or inferiority complex? Oson continued to say. If your scores were good, you would have been able to enter the magic tower already. Right. Namia clenched her hands and said inwardly. No. Whether my scores were high or low, I would still come to the records management department. Because I like making records. Oson concluded with one sentence. Anyway, this matter is entirely your fault. Namia. Namia was silent and did not reply. I bet they will make me write an apology letter. Oson next actually jumped up and down. Write an apology letter. Write an apology letter. Hey, Namia, do you hear me speaking? Are you even listening to me? Namia did not change her attitude. Looked at him and thought. Just as I thought. Namia tiredly replied. Understood. Oson corrected. Not understood. But, I am sorry. She repeated after him. I am sorry. But he was still not done with his anger and said. So many things have happened already. Make it short. Namia was silent for a bit. Then like a machine said sorry. I am sorry. I will submit the apology letter before the end of today. Ss1 became more and more furious and pointed his finger to command. Now you dare to sigh. It seems you no longer pay attention to anything I say. Get out immediately. Namia, you are fired from the Records Management Department starting from today. Clear. At this moment a person walked in with a bone-chilling voice. Interesting, isn't it? Since when can a team leader discuss firing someone without royal permission? Ss1 turned around uncomfortably and asked, "Who are you?" "Palace Majesty." Namia stood up and could not help but think in surprise. That person is. Ss1 also recognized and turned pale. Calling, "Your Highness." "His Highness the Crown Prince?" Kiros strictly asked. "Where is the head of the Records Management Department?" Ss1 was so scared that he stammered. "Ah, so it is. I will go call the head to come." Kiros walked to Namia's side, his voice softening completely as he said, "I came to see my benefactor, but it is too noisy here." He looked at her with a gentle smile and said, "The situation has changed since last time. Young Lady Namia." The director arrived not long after. "Oh my! Isn't this His Highness the Crown Prince and Minister Chase? What brings the son of the Empire to such a humble place?" Kiros looked at him and asked. "Team leader Ss1 has fired a competent employee from the Records Management Department. Was that the director's order?" The director replied, "Yes. I merely processed the disciplinary action." Namia stood beside Kiros and thought anxiously. Why did the atmosphere suddenly become like this? Kiros with a face full of murderous intent asked to clear it up. "In that case, Director, do you think disciplining young Lady Namia, who risked herself to save me, the Crown Prince, is right?" This question made both of them so scared that they could not utter a word. Even Namia had to bow her head in trepidation. He did not shout loudly, nor did he make any threatening gestures, but every word carried a sense of threat. The presence of a dragon bloodline felt directly on the skin. The director stammered, "That was not my intention." Kiros gestured and called, "Chase." He took the record and began to state the offenses. "I see the management of this department is extremely chaotic. Attendance is one thing, but team leader Ss1 unilaterally embezzled the department's operating fund. And the director, knowing about this, turned a blind eye and even took a portion." The director opened his mouth wide in shock. "How did you?" Namia was a bit surprised. "He knows that much. I thought he completely did not care about our department." Secret skill of low-ranking civil servant number 5. Always perking up ears to overhear things while working. Kiros put that stack of records down on the table and said, "As the Crown Prince, I can no longer turn a blind eye to such behavior. Therefore, from now on, I will personally manage the Records Management Department." Namia raised her head to look at him with a bewildered expression and asked, "What?" The director's face darkened as he asked hesitantly. But the magic tower did not say anything. "I did not hear any instructions." Kiros sharply shot back. "A detailed explanation will be sent in a separate written document." The whole crowd hearing that also began to fear. "I am a dead man for sure." Kiros at this moment spoke up again. "And young Lady Namia, you should follow me right now." Namia's emotions were a bit mixed, but she also thought with relief. "Anyway, it is lucky that I have a chance to speak privately with Kiros. But I did not expect everything to happen like this." She stared at Kiros and thought to herself, "If I walk behind it will be very difficult to talk." He suddenly stopped his steps. Kiros took the initiative to ask, "Like this? Walking behind makes talking uncomfortable, right?" Namia was a bit surprised and asked herself, "Don't tell me he wants me to walk right beside him. Doing that is too conspicuous. I guess I have to comply." Namia quietly walked to Kiros's side. He looked at her and smiled gently. "Currently, Bloodwood is outwardly a peaceful and stable empire, but in reality it is extremely unstable. That is an unknown secret. But the Emperor is seriously ill and has left the capital to recuperate. Furthermore, his stepmother, the current Empress, is a former mercenary who built a wall against politics. Their son, Prince Jaden, has just turned 8 years old. In short, That means the Crown Prince's shoulders are bearing such a huge responsibility. Diplomacy. Threat of assassination. Politics. The second dark phase. Useless family. But those things were just Namia's imagination. She was pitying Kiros. While he was thinking tensely. That scrutinizing gaze. Still do not know what she is thinking. Perhaps because of that. Kiros tends to pursue practicality. Furthermore, he is a rare perfect man. Having no fiancé or any scandal with the opposite sex. Namia closed her eyes and assumed. That means right now I am attracting huge attention. Indeed it was so, because behind her there were still two maids watching with envy. His Highness is walking alone with a young woman. Oh dear. Look at her hairpin. Is she a civil servant? Namia sighed helplessly. Rumors will spread everywhere tomorrow. Returning to the room. Namia stood opposite Kiros and was extremely tense. What on earth did he call me here for? Just to work. Kiros picked up a piece of record and asked. Thinking back, I heard there was a new intern arriving at the records management department. Namia braced her mood and answered him. Ah yes. There was that. But they quit the job in just one day. Kiros asked again. Was it because they lacked perseverance that they quit? Namia remembered the words Kiros once said. I will not come here tomorrow and surely, he quit. But I cannot say that. She thought and replied. No. I just feel regretful. Kiros looked at her and asked. Excuse me. Namia said with a bit of sadness. Yes. Actually it was the first time I had a subordinate. So I did not expect that they would leave after just 2 work instructions. Kiros heard and was astonished. Namia recounted. First, I asked them to inventory the records. But they just sat there staring. Saying they did not have authority. Didn't the director already permit it? Kiros at that time also said. Yes. But it seems it hasn't been processed yet. He did not even do the requested work during working hours. But said that he would leave work early. And Kiros could not listen any further and covered his face, calling out, Wait. Didn't that intern also have some special circumstances? I know the royal internship only selects outstanding talents from other countries. He wouldn't be that incompetent. Namia hearing that remembered. Ah. Right. He is a foreigner. She suddenly felt more guilty. Oh dear. It seems I just spoke ill of him without knowing the circumstances clearly. Moreover, this is not a matter to ramble about in front of a superior. At least praise him a little bit. Namia thought like that, so she poured out a torrent of praise. Thinking carefully. His face is very impressive and handsome. Thinking carefully. His face is very impressive and handsome. Kiros after listening. His gaze became terrifyingly serious. This is a big trouble. I intentionally transformed into a normal face to avoid attention. Don't tell me she fell in love with me or something. Namia after speaking felt something was wrong. Did I focus too much on appearance? Kiros was a bit skeptical. That in turn. Maybe he is handsomer than me. At this moment Chase threw the door wide open and called. Your Highness. After calling he suddenly realized. Oh dear. This awkward atmosphere is. Chase covered his mouth and deduced. Don't tell me you are planning to propose marriage. In a place like this with this atmosphere and light. Kiros helplessly asked. How many times do I have to say for you to understand it is not like that? He still held tightly to the thought. Propose marriage. Kiros asked about the main matter. More importantly. What is it? Chase looked at Namia and hesitated. Ah. Well. But he said. Don't mind. Young lady Namia. Just speak. Namia stood on this side and thought awkwardly. Don't stand out and keep quiet. Right. Transparency plus 40%. Yes. I am just a person who is not here. Secret technique of low-ranking civil servant number 13. Reduce presence. Chase reported. Yes. As your Highness mentioned. There is someone in the royal palace who is colluding with the mastermind we are pursuing. Namia heard this information and could not hide her surprise. He already found them. Kiros asked. So, how should we handle them? Namia thought anxiously. What are you asking? Obviously must put them under surveillance. Unexpectedly Kiros suggested. It is best to capture them immediately and execute them. Namia was startled and looked at him with a bewildered expression. Everything is going well. Why suddenly like this? Are you planning to discard the clue we worked so hard to catch? She lost her composure and could not help but speak up. Wait a minute. You are crazy. The collaborator must be kept alive. Kiros insisted. No. Such a dangerous person cannot survive in the royal palace. But that is a good idea. What is your reason for saying so? Namia lowered her face and replied. A procession escorted by the royal guard. Those reckless people dared to attack your highness in broad daylight in front of many people. There is no probability that they will give up after just one failure. The assassins will look for another opportunity and exchange information again. Therefore, supervising the collaborator and capturing them at the decisive moment is. Kiros observed her as she spoke and suddenly realized. Those eyes appeared again, full of enthusiasm, as if suddenly changing. He thought and spoke up to confirm. Young Lady Namia's opinion has been clearly heard. Namia was startled at this moment and realized. Oh dear, I interfered without realizing. Daring to interrupt the Crown Prince and even rejecting his opinion. Surely. She thought about the confirmation of dismissal. Leaving. Namia thought anxiously. Please do not fire me. Kiros laughed and praised. Good. You pass. Namia heard these words and could not believe her ears. Ha! Kiros was full of praise. Thank you for your sharp arguments. Young Lady Rofi. Very useful. You saved my life. And even gave reasonable advice. Chase pushed Namia toward the door. Come on. She was still dazed and called out. Wait a minute. Kiros smiled brightly and assured. I will certainly reward you later. Including this matter. You can leave now. Namia came out of the door but still had not recovered her wits. She touched her lips and understood. Wondering why he called her out privately. This person is not just a dragon. He is a snake. He intentionally revealed the story in front of me to observe my reaction. Chapter 6. Chase was silent for a bit. Only then did he say some words of praise. She is a young lady who is smarter than her appearance. Kiros was silently calculating. First, we can control the records management department and slowly find out later. The problem is the dark period. He looked at his hand and wondered. How did the second dark period happen? We were attacked during the first dark period. And now is the second dark period. How could such a coincidence happen? When Kiros was a child, his relatives were also attacked like that. Poison. The dagger was laced with poison. Call the doctor. That is not the only mystery. Namia. She saved me as if she knew the dark period would strike me. Kiros thought over and over and could only suspect. Then maybe there is some connection between Namia and them. She has gained my trust. Being by my side. Who knows, maybe that is an opportunity for them to exploit a loophole and attack. Kiros held his head and sighed tiredly. Chase asked anxiously. Your Highness. Are you unwell? Kiros was still thinking and calculating. This is not a matter that can be resolved immediately. If there is anything suspicious, I will just keep her close and observe. Chase called again. Your Highness. Are you listening to me? Kiros assumed. At least I can still transform even during the dark period. He urgently ordered. Chase. Contact the Black Crows. I need information about Namia and the Baron Rofi family. Chase asked back in surprise. What? The Black Crows? They are the Crown Prince's private intelligence network. They exist everywhere, spreading across regions. And whatever information their master needs, they will bring it back. No matter what it is. Chase was stunned in surprise. And now you are ordering the Black Crows to investigate even young Lady Namia? Coming from a man who has never cared about any woman. Who said he does not even need a fiancé. Even around Kiros there are many girls who want to have him. Your Highness. Will you dance with this subject in the upcoming banquet? What is your ideal type? Just 3 minutes of drinking tea. Please. But he refused them all. Chase clasped his hands together and thought happily. I did not expect your Highness to be so serious about young Lady Namia. He stood upright and spoke professionally. Yes. I will tell them to find out everything about young lady Namia immediately. Heroes appeared with subtitles looking at him and thinking. Starting with the ridiculous thoughts again. Anyway, he works very well. Namia outside walked quickly. Her mood was heavy as she thought. Heroes. He really is a difficult person to deal with. Is he testing me? Namia paused for a moment and admitted. But he is also the first person to properly acknowledge my ability. Previously I was often scolded for doing unnecessary things. And I spent my whole life sacrificing for others. Dad was the only person who accepted myself and saw through me clearly. It has been a very long time since I felt like this. At this moment a man walked over. That person grabbed Namia's hand. Without saying anything, he roughly called out, "Hey, Namia." Namia was surprised and called, "Hua." He is the eldest son of the Rofi family, a member of the Ministry of Finance. "Hua?" Huan asked angrily. "You haven't come home for 2 days. What the hell are you doing?" "Huh." Namia jerked her hand out of his hand. "Let go then talk properly." Huan questioned. "Do you know how long I have been looking for you? I heard you were with His Highness. So I searched around and finally found you." Namia lowered her face. "Such a headache. My nominal twin brother." "Huan." Huan slapped his hand against his chest as if aggrieved and said, "And the first thing you say is let go. Is that the way you communicate with your only brother?" Namia displayed no expression and asked, "So what do you want?" Huan was surprised. "Huh." She rubbed her wrist and said straight out, "It's not like you came all the way here because you were genuinely worried about me." Huan excitedly spoke out, "All right. Anyway, you have papers to submit before tomorrow. Understand?" "Wait. What? What is that document?" Namia, though dissatisfied, could only think. Good for him. Huan entrusted his work to me long ago. When still at school, Huan's friends often asked, "That kid. Why are you lazy all day but still get perfect scores?" But he just smiled and said, "I have my ways." He relied on me to get all the scores since at the academy. He does not know how to do anything even though he entered the Ministry of Finance. Stupid Huan. He handed Namia a stack of records and called out, "Here. Please. I am in a hurry." Huan leaned close to her ear and whispered, "And furthermore, if I get into trouble, won't you also get into trouble?" "Huh." Namia lowered her face and evaluated herself. "And I am pathetic," she replied. "All right then." Huan smiled faintly. "Smart choice. Just make sure to finish tonight." "Okay." Namia tightened her grip on that record. "I know it is foolish, but I have no other choice." Huan before leaving reminded, "All right. Mum and Dad are also looking for you. So go home right away. I have delivered the message. I am leaving." Namia recalled the words Luca said. "I heard Baron Rofi is borrowing money everywhere lately. He said he doesn't need to worry about having his salary withheld. Luca mentioned his borrowing everywhere. Is that the reason why?" Namia thought about it and had a headache. "To be honest, I don't want to go because I know what that person will say. But the same script they have repeated for the past 7 years. Aren't you curious about where your father is? If you are curious, then give me money." She thought dejectedly. "Still, just wait a little longer. There is a reason why I became the head of this ruined family." Namia recalled. 15 years ago, I lived in a small southern town called Arbin. My mother died before I was old enough to remember her. According to my dad's words, she left a huge debt when she disappeared. Sometimes Namia saw other little girls asking for their mothers. "I want to eat candy." The little girl's mother coaxed. "Not today." She looked at that with genuine admiration. It's not that I wasn't envious of children who had mothers. Even though it wasn't a luxurious life, being able to sit and eat with Dad was truly wonderful. But Namia suddenly asked, "Is it because of me?" Namia's dad raised his head to look at her. "What?" He sat by the bed and asked, "What are you talking about?" Namia looked up at the ceiling blankly and said, "Is it true?" She turned over and said, "Dad, you are just a moral teacher at a rural school. You work day and night to pay off debts and live a difficult life. I am sorry, Dad, because of me. If it weren't for me, maybe you would have lived more easily." her dad said sadly. Namia. Namia's dad touched her cheek and called gently. Don't say that. No matter how hungry and poor we are, no matter how difficult life is, just thinking of my daughter, Dad has more strength to continue. Namia is Dad's most precious treasure. Her dad intentionally changed the subject and asked. All right. How was the library today? Anything fun? Namia replied. Fun. Thinking back now. Today there were also a few fun things. Her dad excitedly asked. Really? What was it? Namia replied. The first thing is that I successfully created a record. Wait for me a moment. Her dad asked in surprise. A record? Namia replied yes. Her dad smiled secretly and thought. Oh, Namia. A record. No way she made a proper one. But I should praise her as a dad. Right. Namia took the record out and made him surprised again. This kind of record. Namia smiled widely and asked. Dad, you said you wanted to watch the stars. Right. Thinking back now. This magical talent was probably the beginning of my misfortune. Chapter 7, her dad asked in absolute surprise. Is that really true? He sat down beside Namia and asked. You made this? Namia? She honestly replied. Yes, Dad. Because you like stars. I used the constellation book and the records theory book at the library as reference materials to create it. Her dad froze for a moment. You mean you just created this record simply by referring to books? How can that be possible? You definitely do not have any magical power like Aaron. He just called Namia. She already lowered her face, feeling hurt. Dad, did I do something wrong? I thought you would be happy if I showed you the stars. Namia's dad panicked and hurriedly explained. No. It is not like that, Namia. It is just. He leaned his head against Namia and praised. Dad is very proud of you. Namia, you are wonderful. She was praised, so she smiled happily. Ah. And I also helped another person. Namia's dad unexpectedly asked. Helped a person? Namia recounted. When I went to the library, I saw a boy in the back garden. And the boy was about to be stabbed. So I used a record to block it. Her dad heard that and his imagination already flew 8 meters away. Namia. Oh my God. Were you hurt? If it was dangerous, then you must call an adult first. Namia understandingly explained. There was no one there. I used the record to block it, so I was not hurt. Dad, can you agree on one thing? Worry about me or scold me. The boy said he would come to thank me later. I think the boy is the son of a count. Anyway, he looked very suspicious in those clothes. Namia's dad seriously asked. Namia, don't tell Dad that you followed that boy. She sulkily said. Dad, be serious. Don't treat me like a child anymore. Unbelievable. Of course I did not follow that boy. But he was very suspicious. Her dad was relieved. Namia added. Although, if that story was true, maybe I should follow him. To ask the count to marry me to a rich family. Namia's dad was shocked out of his mind and asked. What? While the little girl thought. Maybe I should go look for that boy tomorrow. Her dad resolutely opposed. No way. Why would you think like that? Namia emphasized. Because that way we can pay off all the debts. Anyway, that boy did not look very healthy. Then tomorrow let us go count the number of swords in the count's villa together. Namia's dad suddenly hugged her tightly. Dad, he said. Namia, you cannot get married for such a reason. Marriage is something you do with the person you truly love. A person Namia genuinely loves. Namia's dad cried and said. I am sorry. I shouldn't have raised my smart, obedient, beautiful daughter like this. She called out to calm him down. Calm down. Calm down. Namia's dad stood up with determination. All right. I will find a way to solve it. She looked at him with doubt and asked. Solve what? Namia's dad replied. I will do something. I will do something. So promise me that you will not say such things anymore. She helplessly crossed her pinky finger with him. All right. All right. After that, Dad held my hand and brought me to the castle of Baron Rofi. Namia's dad spoke straight out. So, brother, I entrust Namia to you until I return. She is a smart, obedient child. Please make sure she gets into the academy. the head of the Rofi clan. Alexander said somewhat unhappily. Sure. Namia's dad pushed a stack of money forward and instructed. That amount of money will be enough for her to live in the capital without any difficulties. Alexander saw the money and his eyes lit up. I said it is fine. Anyway, not having talked for a long time, where did you get this money? Here and there. Namia's dad thought for a bit and said, no. It still hasn't convinced me. Need to add something to the contract. Alexander crossly replied. Seriously? If you doubt it, then do not bring the child here. So what do you want to add? Namia's dad suggested. Namia will be added to the family registry, and she must be sent to the academy when she is old enough. Before he left, he instructed Namia. All right, Namia, stay healthy. My love. Your uncle will take good care of you. Namia lowered her face and finally asked one question. Dad, where are you going? When I asked that, Dad just smiled faintly. He looked so sad. I didn't have the heart to ask anything more. Namia understandingly shook her head. It is nothing. She smiled brightly to reassure him. Don't worry about me. Dad, please take good care of yourself. Namia's dad assured. Then Namia. I will return. Just like that. Dad disappeared. 15 years have passed. Since then, the shameless Baron Rofi and his wife have used my dad's disappearance as an excuse to exploit me while living a luxurious and wasteful life. Namia stood in front of the door and said to herself, just get it done and quickly get out of here. Alexander and his wife heard the door open and were happy. Welcome, Namia. He reached out his hand and called. Come on. Come on. Sit down first. They are Lady Fenelloa and Baron Alexander. Namia sat down on the chair and immediately asked. I heard rumors that you used my name to borrow and invest. But I guess it didn't go well. That is why you called me first. Alexander stood up abruptly in amazement. What? What kind of tone is that? How rude. Go straight to the point. Unbelievable. You don't have any manners of a noble at all. Namia seriously countered. If we are talking about manners, the fact that my biological uncle borrowed money using my name is much more shameful. Don't you think so? Alexander's face darkened as he threatened. Watch your mouth, brat. I swear the information was very reliable. If the investment succeeded, Namia asked further. Where did you get that information? He stammered. Well, she suspected. If you cannot answer, I guess it came from some shady source. Alexander slammed the table angrily. You talk too much. He pointed his finger irresponsibly and said, how could we know things would turn out like this? Namia was angry to the point of amusement. How can a shameless person be so confident? Maybe this is to create an impression. Alexander without the slightest shame rationalized. I didn't do this just for myself. Understand? I did it for the good of the whole family. Namia let out a breath. Ridiculous. You never considered me a part of that family. Alexander laughed a few delusional sounds. If everything succeeded, by now we would have lived happily. Namia tiredly thought. Unbelievable. I cannot stand it anymore. Staying any longer I will lose all my brain cells. Let us go. She stood up and said. If you have nothing else to say, I will take my leave. Alexander hurriedly called. Wait. Namia. Marry Howard. Namia froze. What did you just say? Alexander sat down on the chair and then said. He is the eldest son of the Ulton Merchant Guild. He said he likes you. Don't pretend you did not hear. He showed the photo of that person. He is a bit old, but he is a bargain. Namia could no longer believe her eyes and doubted. Are you serious? He looks at least 20 years older than me. Alexander added. And he wants me to quit the job as soon as we get married. Namia turned her head excitedly and said. I want to continue working. I have never said I like him. So do not go around telling other people the opposite. Fenelloa smiled awkwardly and chimed in. Oh dear. Do you really have to be so negative? You might like him after meeting. More importantly, he hasn't dated anyone since his divorce 14 years ago. Namia put on a sarcastic face and said. Ah right. That was because of domestic violence, wasn't it? It is all on those papers. I guess old people call that type of man a bargain. Fenelloa crossly said. You will never find a better condition than this. Namia looked at her talking nonsense and thought, then you should marry him, aunt. She decisively turned around. If this is the type of conversation, then I refuse. Anyway, you were the one who caused that debt. Just as Namia grabbed the doorknob, Alexander called back and asked, Namia, aren't you curious about where your dad went? He sinisterly laid down the condition. If you say you will proceed with this marriage, then I will tell you everything right now. You will marry into a rich family, changing your fate. And with that money, you can search for the dad you always wanted. Isn't that great? Namia uttered a word. Uncle. Alexander rejoiced and said, so you finally decided. He secretly thought happily. I knew it. When it comes to anything about your dad, there is no way you would refuse. With this, our family's debt will be gone. Surprisingly, Namia Rofi decided, I will leave this house, making him freeze on the spot. Huh. What are you talking about? Namia said straight out. As what I just said. I have thought it over carefully, and I realize there is no need to continue living a life that only makes me miserable. I just found a new opportunity to live. A big, strong, and reliable opportunity. She opened the door. Anyway, I have no more business in this terrible place. Alexander panicked and called out, wait, Namia. Before leaving, Namia smiled brightly and said, I have decided. I only date and marry the person I love. First of all, I really care about appearance. I will transfer my salary receiving account. So just know that. And I am not grateful for anything at all. Alexander was shocked to the point of turning pale, making Lady Fenello panic and call, my love. And just like that, I cut all ties with Baron Rofi. Night came. When Kiros walked in, some guy had been murdered. Oh no, Your Highness. Chase was startled and said, we are one step too late. Kiros said coldly, it seems someone else arrived here before us. Chase beside him introduced a bit. This man's name is Lennon, currently an employee of the Ministry of Justice. But 10 years ago, he was transferred to another department due to maladaptation. Originally he was a part of the Records Management Department. It seems so. Kiros picked up that violent frowned. The Records Management Department. It is that again. Chase looked at the table nearby and discovered a piece of paper. He picked it up to read. It seems like a suicide note. I have no other way to pay off my huge gambling debt. I will end everything with my own hands so that the rest of my life will not be more miserable. I am sorry, Mother. Kiros on this side was still looking at the situation and reminded, don't read such things. It only makes you feel worse. Chase was startled and replied, yes. In Kiros's view, how high could a royal civil servant's salary be that he could gamble to the point of accumulating such debts? Well deserved. No need to pity. Chase hesitated and said, but you don't need to go that far. Kiros urgently left first. Chase, you stay here. When the night squad arrives, tell them to collect all documents and items here. Do not miss anything. Chase looked after him and asked, where are you going? Your Highness. Kiros put on his cloak and said, where else? To work. Chase reached out his hand and called, please stop for a moment. Your Highness. Please do not leave me alone. Namia on this side held a pastry. Beside her there was also a large bowl of pastries, making anyone who walked past look. I walked out with an angry look. But now what should I do? She ate while looking at housing. First of all, I need to find a place to live. Luxury independent villa 1.5 billion. Shock. That famous haunted house. The final house for the poor. Namia frowned. Why are there only extreme choices like this? I see. All the good houses have been bought by people already, and the remaining listings are like this. Namia let out a breath. Learned something new. Only when I have lived alone before would I know about things like this. Not helpful. Should I use that? Luca learned about Namia's situation and hurriedly refused. No way. Absolutely not here. There are no vacant rooms left here. Esther, she casually asked. Why not? So stingy. Luca insisted no is no. I don't want to be called a stingy person because of private matters. And how can enemies live together under one roof? Namia finally understood. Ah, that is the problem, she thought to herself. You don't even care that I am a woman. Namia pointed her finger and asked, then, does the matter of your enemy being homeless matter? If I die like this, you will fall into despair without ever having a chance to defeat me. Right. You will forever be the pathetic runner-up. Even a decrepit old man will remember me. The one you could never defeat. Thinking like that. Ah. I wish at the time I had found a place for Namia. And Luca heard that and immediately changed his mind, quickly running away. You. Do not move a single finger here. I will go find a decent place right now. Namia stuck out her tongue making a face and thought. Easy. She touched her chin and recalled. Anyway, the housing problem has been solved. But something else is supposed to happen around this time. Right. Namia stopped thinking. Oh well. Right now I can't do anything either. So just let it be until it happens, then handle it. On Kiro's side. He stared at that vial and couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. A feeling of discomfort. As if I am always one step slower. The more I track the mastermind. All connections only point to one place. The records management department. Among them, the most suspicious person is Namia. He remembered her words. Besides, those reckless people who dared to act against your highness in broad daylight, in front of so many people, will not give up after just one failure. The assassins will look for another opportunity. Exchange information. So by supervising the insider, we can catch them at the decisive moment. Kiros clenched his hand and became even more suspicious. Why could a low-ranking civil servant, who was supposed to know nothing, speak with such a certain tone? Unless she already knew in advance what would happen. Whoever she is, surely she is involved in the incidents around me. Right now the only remaining clue is this poison. He opened the vial's cap to analyze. It smells a bit sour. My poison resistance has been enhanced since I was a child. So I can identify most types of poison just by smell. But a smell like this is the first time. Then Kiros realized. No. I have smelled this scent before. 15 years ago. Count Kalto's villa. A bodyguard was training with the crown prince. Her sword was knocked high up. Then stabbed into the ground. Pron laughed. With this, 80 wins out of 86 matches. Kiros' bodyguard. Pron stood with hands on hips and said. I won. Oh dear. Are you tired, Your Highness? Kiros panted heavily and asked. Are you really just a human? Pron supported him and asked back. Are you really a dragon king, Your Highness? Kiros helplessly replied. Right now is my dark period. Furthermore, I am only 10 years old. And you are even famous among knights for your terrifying strength. Pron pointed at himself in surprise. Me. He happily slapped Kiros' shoulder and said. Thank you for the compliment, Your Highness. If Your Highness eats well and knows how to swing a sword, you can also become just like me. Kiros' bodyguard. Will held his head and screamed. Pron, what are you doing to His Highness? Are you crazy? Even you cannot treat His Highness's body so carelessly. Kiros said it was fine. He hurriedly apologized again. Kiros took Pron's hand and said. Dad likes Pron very much. So it is fine. Pron, let us go into the shade to avoid the heat. Will reached out his hand and called. Ah, Your Highness. Kiros just led Pron away completely. It has been 2 months since Crown Prince Kiros' dark period began. Until the dark period ends, I will stay at Count Kalto's villa with Pron, serving as His Highness's bodyguards. Maybe because His Highness lost his mother early, he seems particularly attached to his female knight bodyguard. Thanks to Pron, life was very peaceful. Pron suddenly brought a worm in front of Kiros. He was dazed for a bit then praised. Cute. Right. Will secretly rejoiced and thought. It is great that everything is so friendly. Even when I am left out in the cold,